Hi, my name's Jess and I'm a first year medical student at Brighton and Sussex Medical School, and I'm just going to take you through a typical week for me in med school in lockdown. So it's currently end of November, we are in the second lockdown, so it wasn't a typical week for my first term, however it's becoming typical week for medical school in lockdown, so yeah. I'll just start with Monday. So Monday morning, I went out for a run. It was a really nice way to start off my week. It always makes me feel way more productive, and it's really important, I think, to get outside every now and then, especially in lockdown, but in medicine it's nice to have a balance. And after my run, I just started off with a lecture. We actually had a symposium later that day, so I went through the videos for the symposiums. It was on pathogenesis. It's a theme for infection and immunity lecture, which is actually my favourite theme. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. It was really interesting. And then I just had an anatomy lecture as well, which was pre-recorded. So I just went through that, made some notes, and then later on in the day I had Q&A sessions. They're live on Teams, and they're for the symposiums. So normally with a symposium you'd be in the lecture theatre and you'd have the Q&A after all the lectures, and it'd be a whole 2-hour, 3-hour thing. But now that we're doing things online, we have the pre-recorded lectures to watch, then we go through some tasks, and then we have the Q&A session live on Teams. And it's actually really nice to have a live session because it means you can actually talk to the lecturers and the other med students and that. So yeah, it's really nice, really interesting. And I had one of those for a psychology symposium and one of those for a infection and immunity symposium. And then after that, I actually had a really nice evening. It was a Zoom event for the Students for Global Health Society. It was a presentation called COG in Colonial Medicine, and it was basically about the impact of colonialism on medicine sort of throughout history, and yeah, that was really interesting. On Tuesdays, that's clinical practice days, so I woke up and the first thing I did was I watched the lecture, the pre-recorded lectures that we need to watch before our seminars, which starts at 9:30. And then in the seminars we just discuss whatever the pre-recorded lecture for that week is on. This week it was breastfeeding and reflective practice. And so we practiced some reflective practice, which was an interesting skill to learn. It basically involves thinking about things, going over them, analysing what happened and critically thinking and all of that. So yeah, that was my Tuesday morning, and then in the afternoon for my placement, mine was online this week. It was Inequalities and Inclusions in Healthcare, which is a online live lecture. And we basically just discussed some inequalities in society and medicine, that sort of stuff. It was really nice. Again, I really like the live lectures because it's really easy to sort of have a conversation and interactions and that, and it's kind of the closest thing to being in an actual lecture theatre. So yeah, that was really interesting. Then on Wednesday, I just had 3 lectures to do. I had a pharmacology one and 2 pathology lectures, so I just got through those. They were all pre-recorded, so I could do them on my own time. And then in the afternoon, I just made some flashcards. I've been making a lot of flashcards for the KT. It's pretty much the main thing I'm doing to revise for that. So yeah, that's a really useful way, I think, that I've found so far of kind of breaking the information down so it's a little bit more manageable. And then on Thursday I had applied anatomy and revision, which was so fun. It was in the dissection room. We've had 3 dissections in person so far this year, and this was our 3rd. We weren't actually doing dissection this time, it was all prosections. and they had them all laid out in stations, and we would go around and we were basically applying our knowledge of anatomy to these prosections, and that was really, really interesting. Really enjoyed that. And then after, I just had 2 lectures to do. I had one on cancer and I had another one on pathology. And then Fridays are mostly pathology days. It's a 9 a.m. till 9:30 practical online live session on Teams. We basically have the live session and then the lecturer will get the slides up. It's on a website, it's all digitalised, and he'll go through the slides like it's a practical but on Microsoft Teams. And then from 10 to 11 I had the Q&A session for pathology. This week it was on injury and how the cell responds to injury, and yeah, it was really good. And Friday afternoon I just made some more flashcards. I'm gonna go through some as well, and that'll probably be what I get done at the weekend, just go through and practice the flashcards I've made this week. So yeah, that is everything. That's my Monday to Friday of my week doing medical school in lockdown. Obviously normally there'd be a lot more in person, so normally we'd have like module tutorials in person at the moment, academic skills, but at the moment it's mostly online, but yeah, still good. So yeah, thank you very much.